Have you ever wondered why some people seem to glide through life, as if reality rearranges itself to match their inner vision, while others remain trapped in a cycle of almost and never quites? It's not luck. It's not timing. It's not even discipline, at least not in the way you've been taught. It's frequency. Beneath the veil of matter, under the routines and identities you wear each day, lives a silent, vibrating code. And that code, your emotional tone, your core belief, your moment-to-moment attention, is shaping the quantum field in real time. Not someday. Now. You are not waiting for your future. You are tuning to it. Life doesn't respond to words or wishes. It responds to energy, to the felt vibration pulsing through your nervous system, through your breath, through the quiet expectancy that lives behind your eyes. The reality you experience is not happening to you. It is being summoned through you, collapsed from infinite probability into a single unfolding timeline by the observer that you are. The question is not, when will my life change? The question is, when will my observation change? If this already stirs something in your soul, stay with this transmission. Like, share, and let us know in the comments. What future are you ready to tune into? What vision have you buried long enough? Type, I align with the highest frequency of my soul. Most people live as if life is a fixed screen, reacting to what they believe is already true. But what if you knew, deeply, unshakably, that the screen itself bends according to the inner signal you're emitting? What if circumstances aren't causing your feelings, but your feelings are selecting which version of circumstances you perceive? In the quantum field, there is no single objective reality waiting for you. There are infinite realities, each one responding to your energetic alignment like a mirror waiting for the light. The world does not move in response to thought alone. Thought without frequency is noise, but thought fused with elevated emotion, that becomes a magnetic signal, that becomes instruction to the quantum. Your cells begin to harmonize. Your brain waves stabilize. Your field emits a message far more honest than your words. This is who I am now. And reality, obedient and exact, begins its reshaping. Some people spend years trying to fight their way into a new life, never realizing they are still broadcasting the frequency of resistance. And what they call effort is often just fear in motion, the vibration of lack, dressed in the costume of ambition. But energy never lies, and the field never mishears. It is not effort that commands creation, but coherence, a state where thought, emotion, and identity operate in resonance, where what you imagine is no longer a wish, but a living frequency in your body. You are not merely a participant in this world. You are its architect, not through control, but through observation. Not through obsession, but through presence. There is a kind of seeing, silent, open, unclenched, that alters the trajectory of time itself. When you become still, not passively, but vibrationally. When you rest in the knowing that your reality is a feedback loop of your frequency, the quantum begins to respond in ways that feel miraculous, but are only deeply natural. The unconscious observer sees life through the lens of habit, fear, and inherited identity. But the conscious observer, the awakened one, walks through the same streets and sees portals, possibilities, fractal timelines blooming like galaxies behind the everyday. They are not special. They are not chosen. They are simply aligned. They are tuned to the version of themselves that already lives the life they once imagined from afar. The mistake is believing that change begins in the world, that new jobs, relationships, money, or recognition will adjust your signal. But the truth is, ancient and clear, the world bends around the energy of your being. Change doesn't begin outside, it never has. The frequency comes first. The physical follows. Always. And so the question is no longer, how do I get there? The real question is, can I feel it now? Can you hold the vibration of the version of you that no longer waits, no longer begs, no longer doubts, but observes with love, with clarity, and with unwavering presence the life that already belongs to them in the field? The silent observer is not a role you play. It is your truest state, the one before thought, before preference, before identity claimed a name and clung to form. In this state, there is no effort, only attunement. Observation becomes creation. Desire becomes design. It is here, in the quiet presence of being, that energy crystallizes into matter. And yet, so many chase outcomes, blind to the invisible brushstrokes behind them. They seek to paint with their hands what their soul has not yet chosen to see. When you watch without needing, when you feel without forcing, when you align without attachment, this is when you slip into the current that carries you to the life your higher self already occupies. The quantum responds not to drama, but to resonance, not to desperation, but to dominion. If the frequency of I lack remains beneath the wish for change, the field hears only the lack. But when the energy becomes I am, I hold, I breathe this now, then time folds and new futures emerge. The mind is a lens, and most have left it fogged with fear, smudged with past failures. But clarity is not the result of fixing the world. It is the return to still vision. Like a camera that finally focuses, your perception can refine itself until you see not what is missing, but what is vibrating into form. The clearer your gaze, the more rapidly reality reorganizes itself to match your inner coherence. Every thought is a potential seed, but only those that take root in elevated feeling, gratitude, wonder, trust, have the power to shape the world around you. Why? Because emotion is the carrier wave of consciousness. It is your tuning fork. It sends the broadcast. It tells the field, this is the world I'm ready to live in. And so, you must ask yourself, what are you broadcasting now, unconsciously? Are you transmitting survival or possibility? In this universe, matter is not solid. Time is not linear. Your life is not a fixed script. Quantum mechanics shows us that particles exist in a state of infinite possibility until observed. Then, and only then, they collapse into form. This is not metaphor. It is measurement. And yet, the sages knew this long before the scientists could prove it. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. This is not magic. This is physics wearing the robes of spirit. So why does the life you dream of feel distant? Not because it's far away, but because the version of you who lives it emits a frequency you have not consistently chosen. The gap is not in space, but in vibration. To align with that version is not to wait, it is to become, to shed the emotional skin of the past, and step into the nervous system of the future. That is where manifestation lives. Not in force, but in felt alignment. Identity is the deepest frequency. You cannot live a life beyond what you believe yourself to be. And yet, identity is malleable. It is a sculpture of energy, shaped by thought, memory, belief, and choice. You are not doomed to who you've been. You are not sentenced to echo old wounds. The moment you observe yourself differently, with reverence instead of resistance, with vision instead of verdict, you shift timelines entirely. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the rewiring of thought, emotion, and behavior into new patterns. But it's more than brain change, it's soul permission. The act of stepping back from the old story, the inherited trauma, the tired patterns, and saying, this is no longer mine, not in anger, not in denial, but in love. And when you do that, your neurons light new pathways, your emotions follow, your signal strengthens. The quantum pays attention. The universe does not judge who you've been. It reflects who you are being. Right now. Not later. Not when you're healed. Not when you're perfect. Just now. It is waiting. Not for your resume of effort, but your embodiment of alignment. When your inner state stops contradicting your outer desire, things begin to happen fast. Not because time speeds up, but because resistance dissolves. The moment you stop observing from your wounds and start observing from your wisdom, the world shifts. Not subtly, not someday, but now, because you have stopped fighting with what is and started becoming the one who already holds what's next. There is a rhythm that flows through all creation, not imposed, but invited. And when your heart enters that rhythm, reality listens differently. The ancients called it surrender. The mystics called it union. Today, some might call it flow state or neural coherence. But names are shadows. What matters is the felt sense of becoming one with the moment, when your thoughts, emotions, and breath no longer resist the present, but move in harmony with it. In that space, you become the signal. You become the gate through which possibility becomes form. Emotions are not just reactions. They are generators. They either tune you into the highest frequencies of love, abundance, and peace, or bind you to the density of fear, shame, and control. Every time you feel, you are voting. Not in language, but in vibration. The universe is not listening to your sentences. It is measuring your coherence. So ask yourself, not what do I want, but what am I radiating? Because you cannot hide your true vibration from the field that responds to it. When a person carries unresolved grief, unacknowledged fear, or buried resentment, they might speak the language of hope, but they pulse the frequency of contraction. And the field mirrors contraction back. But when that same person releases the armor, allows the body to feel, to integrate, to soften, something extraordinary happens. The emotional signature changes, the signals strengthen, the life they were waiting for begins to appear, not because it was absent, but because it was unreachable at the old frequency. The observer effect teaches us that consciousness determines outcome. And yet, it is not enough to merely glance at your future with hope. Observation, in its truest form, is not visual. It is visceral. It is an internal alignment, a full-bodied resonance, a still presence so complete that the future has no choice but to respond. You must become the one who can see without needing, who can hold without clinging, who can walk forward without dragging the past. This is why presence is power. Not just philosophically, but physically. Presence stabilizes brainwaves. Presence regulates the nervous system. Presence shifts the chemistry of your cells. And as biology responds to awareness, so too does the quantum. You are not a machine that needs fixing. You are a tuning fork that longs to be in harmony with truth. And the moment you remember that, struggle becomes optional. Struggle is the echo of a belief that you are separate from what you seek. But presence dissolves separation. It shows you that the future is not a distant shore, but a dimension one frequency away. You don't get there by striving harder. You arrive by aligning deeper. When the inner noise quiets, the field responds with clarity. When your energy becomes still, the fabric of possibility moves. So many try to visualize a better life while vibrating the emotion of lack. But the quantum does not respond to the picture, it responds to the feeling. That's why two people can think the same thought, but only one manifests the result. Thought is the steering wheel. Emotion is the engine. Identity is the driver. If these three are not in harmony, you stay parked in potential. But when they align, the field bends, timelines shift, and destiny accelerates. What you consistently observe with feeling and faith becomes inevitable. Not because it's guaranteed, but because the version of you who keeps observing it becomes impossible to ignore. You become a frequency too coherent to deny. And reality, which was always listening, now has no choice but to reflect. This is not about perfection. It is about consistency. Coherence is not the absence of chaos, but the choice to return to alignment even when chaos knocks. It's the steadying breath, the inner recalibration, The choice, again and again, to feel from the future rather than fear from the past. And the more you do this, the less reactive you become. Because you no longer believe the world determines your frequency. You know now, you determine how the world appears. To live the life you've been imagining is not to escape what is. It is to observe with such presence, such truth, that what is begins to elevate to meet who you've become. Every moment, the field of infinite possibility surrounds you. Not above, not beyond, but within. It is not distant, like a star, but intimate, like breath. And though it may appear as empty space, it is the most intelligent medium in existence. The void is not a lack, it is a womb. It waits not with silence, but with potential. And your frequency is the key that unlocks what emerges. The version of reality you meet is not determined by time, but by tone. Imagine that your life is playing on a radio, but only one station at a time. That station is your dominant state of being. Tune to fear, and you receive evidence of threat. Tune to worth, and doors open without knocking. You don't beg the radio to change the song. You adjust the dial. In the same way, you are never at the mercy of circumstance, only of the state you're aligned to. And once you shift that state, the world begins to dance differently around you. Parallel timelines are not science fiction. They are embedded in the quantum nature of reality. Every choice you don't make, every belief you don't embody, every version of you you've ever imagined still exists, suspended in potential. You are not moving through time. You are selecting timelines through your energy. Each moment you feel from love instead of lack. You switch tracks. Each time you act from presence rather than panic. You choose a different future. This is why the soul whispers while the world screams. Because truth does not need to shout, it resonates. And when you return to the quiet place within, when you anchor to that deep inner knowing, the noise of illusion fades. The ego will fight. The past will echo. But the frequency of the real you, the you that remembers, will begin to outshine them all. And the more you choose from that remembrance, the faster life aligns. There is a science to surrender. It is not passivity. It is precision. It is the exact moment your energy becomes clean enough to receive. To receive not from effort, but from embodiment. In surrender, you're not giving up. You're giving in to coherence, to the natural rhythm of the field, to the version of you that was never lacking, only waiting for your permission to arrive. Your nervous system is an instrument. It can either echo the trauma of yesterday or tune to the music of your future. Most people never learn how to regulate this instrument. They chase dreams while wired for survival. They seek love while broadcasting abandonment. They pray for peace while pulsing anxiety. But when you learn to soothe the system, to breathe into stillness, to feel your way back to balance, the world stops feeling hostile and starts becoming holy. This is the essence of creation. Not to control the external, but to clarify the internal. The future you want does not require force. It requires fidelity to the feeling, to the vision, to the inner atmosphere that matches the outer result. This is not fantasy. It is frequency, and every moment you honor that frequency, the timeline shifts closer, more vivid, more undeniable. There is no waiting in the quantum, only matching. And if you are not yet living the life you've imagined, it is not because it is absent, but because your energy has not yet said yes to it fully. Not just with words, but with silence, with faith, with breath, with action that comes from knowing, not from needing. When your life becomes a ceremony of alignment, the quantum responds like a mirror cleansed of distortion. The observer is not a passive witness. It is an active creator, but not through doing alone. Through being, you are already creating. The question is, are you doing it consciously or unconsciously? Are you sending a signal of coherence or confusion? Your thoughts may lie. Your feelings may waver, but your frequency never hides. The field always knows who you're being, even when you don't. And so, the greatest power is not in what you can force to happen, but in who you're willing to become. Consistently, gently, precisely, until your vibration makes the dream inevitable. There is a doorway between all versions of you, and it opens not with effort but with energetic honesty. When you admit what you've been pretending not to feel, when you stop rehearsing old identities out of loyalty to your wounds, the door creaks open. You begin to step out of the timeline of survival and into the timeline of sovereignty. This is not imagination. This is initiation. You are not escaping your past. You are graduating from it. To understand your power is to stop mistaking reaction for reality. The emotions that arise when life confronts you are not the truth. They are the signal flare of your programming. And unless you pause, unless you breathe before believing, you will recycle the same timeline again and again. But when you observe those emotions as sacred information, not threats, not commands, you begin to unhook from the old grid. You become the space in which the program dissolves. Neural coherence is not simply a concept. It is the state in which the body, the mind, and the soul begin to speak the same language. It is when the thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, and the future you see all hum in resonance. And in that harmony, the field starts to bend. Synchronicities increase. Serendipity becomes strategy. What once felt random becomes rhythmic. You realize you're not waiting for alignment. You're remembering that you are alignment. Every breath is a vote, not just for what you want, but for who you are. Each breath taken in resistance tightens the field. Each breath offered in surrender softens it, and over time, these tiny votes of presence begin to accumulate. They form the new baseline of your being, until one day you look around and realize you didn't manifest a new life by wishing harder. You did it by becoming harder to shake. You are not here to chase. You are here to anchor, to embody such clarity that the world must reorganize around you. And this clarity is not loud. It is still, not anxious, but awake. When you stop trying to convince the world to give you what you deserve and instead start vibrating as the one who already holds it, the field stops resisting, because it only ever resisted your doubt, not your dream. So many spiritual seekers become trapped in performance, speaking the words, mimicking the actions, yet still pulsing the energy of fear beneath the surface. But the quantum is not fooled by form. It listens only to vibration, and the moment your inner reality aligns with your outer vision, manifestation becomes memory. Not a goal, but a natural outcome of coherence. If you want a new life, you must stop rehearsing the old one. You must stop telling stories that no longer serve the frequency you're calling in. Every time you retell your struggle without transformation, you reactivate that timeline. But when you choose silence, when you choose sacred focus, when you choose to observe without explaining, you begin to merge with the version of you who needs no justification, who simply, and that version of you is already living the life you long for. They are not better. They are not braver. They are simply aligned. They made the decision to stop outsourcing their power to outcomes and to begin embodying the truth regardless of evidence. And that decision, not a grand event, but a subtle recalibration, was the threshold that opened the future. The quantum field responds to commitment, not in time, but in tone. When your energy no longer argues with your desire, doors open, not because they were locked, but because your signal stopped confusing them. Reality is not withholding your dream. It is mirroring the version of you you've most consistently chosen. When that choice changes, so does everything. There is no frequency more powerful than authenticity. The quiet certainty that who you are now is already enough to access what you've been waiting for. When you live from that place, timelines collapse, not because you forced them to, but because your soul became too coherent to delay any longer. Energy does not lie. While the mind can justify and the mouth can decorate, The field always listens to the essence beneath the surface. You can say you're ready. You can speak visions and chant affirmations. But if your nervous system is humming the song of fear, the field will harmonize with that. The quantum world is not emotional, but it is exact. It reflects what is, not what is hoped for. This is not punishment. It is purity. Reality is the echo of your current alignment. Many try to change their life by force, sheer willpower, endless strategy, relentless planning. But matter rearranged through stress cannot sustain transformation. Only energy shifted from the root creates true change. When you align your identity, your emotion, and your belief with the version of reality you wish to inhabit, the change becomes cellular. You no longer need to manage outcomes, because you have become a match for them. The ego will resist this simplicity. It will tell you that you must earn what you desire. Suffer for it. Prove yourself worthy. But the quantum field does not operate by merit. It operates by match. This is why people with open hearts and relaxed energy often magnetize what others grind for, because they live in coherence while others live in contradiction. And coherence is the true currency of creation. Every time you collapse into an old identity, the wounded one, the overlooked one, the unworthy one, you signal the field to repeat the same chapter. But when you observe that identity without merging with it, you create distance. And in that distance, choice returns. You are no longer reacting. You are selecting. You become the observer again. And in that moment, the quantum responds. Your reality is not static. It is plastic, fluid, responsive. Every cell in your body is listening to your intention. Your heart emits a measurable electromagnetic field, influencing the space around you. Your brain responds to new emotions with new connections. What you think and feel today literally shapes the molecular expression of who you become tomorrow. You are not imprisoned by biology. You are the author of it. So ask yourself, gently but clearly, what frequency am I committed to living in today? Not what do I hope for, not what do I talk about, but what do I embody? What do I rehearse in silence? Because that is the signal that is doing the real work. And the moment you shift that signal, not by force, but by devotion, your life begins to reconfigure. This is why desperation is such a dangerous signal. It may wear the clothes of motivation, but it pulses lack. The universe does not punish you for needing. It simply can't deliver to the version of you who believes they are empty. But when you let go of need and step into knowing, when you remember that you are already whole and begin living from that fullness, miracles feel ordinary. Because they no longer violate your self-image, they confirm it. Spiritual maturity is not about controlling your thoughts. It is about choosing your state. Thoughts will come and go like weather, but the atmosphere, your core vibration, is your domain. It is the climate you nurture. It is the home you invite life into. And when you tend to that inner home, with care, with honesty, with unwavering presence, you no longer chase blessings. They land gently, unannounced, and steady. You were not born to hustle for your soul's dream. You were born to remember it, feel it, and radiate it, until the world bends around your clarity. This is the secret sages kept in metaphor and physicists now chart in numbers, that what you consistently feel and faithfully observe becomes the scaffolding of your life. And so, as you rise into this knowing, let go of performance. Let go of waiting. Let go of the old self who thought they had to earn what was already theirs. Instead, become still, become clear, and become the frequency your future has been waiting for. There is an ancient intelligence woven into the field, a wisdom that responds not to command, but to communion. You don't manipulate reality with the mind. You merge with it through resonance. This is why silence is not empty. It is the most honest state of creation. In silence, the ego falls away. In silence, the old stories lose power. And in silence, your true signal emerges, untouched by programming, unclouded by fear. From this stillness, clarity arises. You begin to notice that everything you once chased was simply a mirror of the self you had not yet claimed. Love, freedom, worth. They were never out there. They were waiting for you to stop scattering your frequency across timelines that do not honor you. And when you stop leaking energy into comparison, into regret, into imagined futures you don't truly want, something happens. You consolidate. You glow. You become gravitation. This is the beginning of magnetic presence. Not as a strategy, but as a signature. When your internal frequency is clean, not perfect, but congruent, the field reorganizes to match. You'll meet people whose hearts mirror your new alignment. Opportunities arise with no explanation but vibrational readiness. Doors open without effort because your energy stopped contradicting your intention. This is the art of sacred congruence. Many wonder, why hasn't it happened yet? But the truer question is, who are you being while you wait? Because waiting in itself is a vibration, and often it is laced with unworthiness, with doubt, with the subtle frequency of delay. But when you stop waiting and begin being, the field feels it. When your actions flow from your future self rather than your frustrated self, the path begins to accelerate. Every choice you make, the way you speak to yourself, the thoughts you accept, the emotions you dwell in, sends a ripple into the quantum field. This ripple is not symbolic. It is structural. You are not just affecting your mood. You are adjusting the architecture of your timeline. You are sculpting possibility into pattern. And this is the quiet power few recognize, that the smallest internal shift is often the key to the greatest external change. To live from the quantum is to live from your wholeness. It is to know that nothing can complete you, because you were never fragmented. Pain may have made you forget. Trauma may have created echoes, but even in your lowest moment, the core of you remained untouched, whole, holy, and still broadcasting a signal of truth. And every time you choose to return to that truth, you realign your path. The world outside is a canvas, but the brush is inside your nervous system, and the pigment is emotion. You cannot paint joy while pulsing scarcity. You cannot summon peace while living in internal war. This is not punishment, it is precision. The field responds to the dominant frequency, not the occasional wish. So the more you embody your desired reality in every small decision, the faster your life reshapes to hold it. Stillness is not inaction. It is potency. It is the refusal to react from fear and the decision to move only from clarity. It is in stillness that the signal becomes sharp. In stillness, the fog clears and the quantum listens closely. This is where timelines collapse, not from effort, but from alignment. And this is where your most powerful self waits, not in the noise, but in the quiet certainty of being. You do not create by convincing life of your readiness. You create by becoming the frequency that requires no explanation, the frequency that simply is, the one that walks into the room and reality rearranges itself, not out of obligation, but resonance. And when you live from that place, you realize that all the things you once chased were already circling you, waiting for the moment you tuned in. Because reality, at its core, is not what happens around you. It is what responds to who you've chosen to be within. You have always been the tuning fork, not the echo. The vibration, not the residue. And now, as you come into this final knowing, the need to prove, to strive, to explain begins to fall away like dust from ancient stone. What remains is pure signal, the frequency of the true self, unshaken by appearances, undiminished by delay. This is the self that never left, only waited patiently beneath the noise for you to return. In this remembering, you are no longer waiting for permission to receive. You are no longer trying to convince the universe that you're worthy of what you imagine. Worthiness is not earned, it is recognized. And the quantum responds the moment you embody that recognition. Your dreams are not rewards. They are reflections. They meet you at the altitude of your inner truth. The future you crave is not impressed by hustle. It is summoned by stillness. Not a frozen kind of stillness, but a sovereign one. The kind that moves with grace instead of grasping, that speaks with clarity instead of proving. When you breathe from that space, speak from that space, live from that space, creation begins to feel inevitable, because you are no longer opposing what is meant for you with the vibration of doubt. There will still be noise. The world will still hum with distraction, opinion, illusion. But your signal will rise above it, because you've learned how to center your frequency, not just on good days, but through all days. And this is mastery, not perfection, but return. Return to coherence. Return to truth. Return to the self that no longer needs the outside world to shift in order to feel whole inside. You are the bridge between formless potential and physical form. Every thought aligned with your highest truth strengthens that bridge. Every emotion felt in trust rather than fear reinforces its path. And as you walk across it, with presence, with grace, you don't just change your life, you change what's possible for all who witness you. You become the signal for others to rise. The timeline you choose is not based on what you want. It is based on who you are willing to be. In every conversation, every moment of silence, every reaction reclaimed into awareness. You are sculpting the next version of your life, not by effort, but by being. And the more faithful you are to your inner frequency, the more unshakable your outer world becomes. Nothing external has to change for you to begin. The alignment happens first. The shift in posture, the breath slowed, the intention made sacred again. You do not have to see evidence to be certain. Your certainty becomes the evidence. Your signal writes the script, and reality follows, obedient to the soul that finally stopped resisting its power. So now, you stand at the threshold, not of something far away, but of something long forgotten. The life you've imagined is not a fantasy, it is a frequency, and the version of you who lives it is not elsewhere. They are here, beneath the layers, beneath the noise, waiting for your yes. Say yes, not with your words, but with your presence. Say yes in the way you breathe, in the way you choose to feel today, in the way you let go of the identity that suffered to prove itself. Say yes to being, because it is your being that holds the blueprint of everything you once believed was out of reach. Reality doesn't shift when you force it, it shifts when you observe differently.